Today I'm going to show you all the tricks on how to make a real classic eggplant rollatini. Using the best eggplant that you could find in the store, meaning a shiny one and firm, cut off both ends of it. Start by peeling the edges first, and that'll allow you then to peel big strips. Take that peeled eggplant and cut one flat edge, turn it on its side on that flat edge, and then you'll be able to cut strips without the eggplant rocking. Cut them to 1/8 to 3/16 of an inch thick, just do the best you can. And then take a colander with a plate underneath it, and then put a layer of eggplant, a little bit of kosher salt, just like how we did eggplant parm. And then just build it up, one layer eggplant, one layer of kosher salt, until you have it just like that. By the way, the reason that we are doing this is to remove excess water from the eggplant. Take a couple cloves of garlic, use the back of your knife, just do a little tap, and then you can remove the skin very easily. And there you go, you got a couple cloves of garlic. That's Muti brand, I'm not sure if that's how it's pronounced, and Cento right here. They're both very good quality plum tomatoes. Use any good quality brand that you like. I'm going to keep the heat low, and a couple tablespoons of olive oil, and get those garlic cloves right in the oil. You just want to get some light color out of them, out of those cloves. All right, so put a plate on top of the eggplant too, and use that other can of tomatoes. And this is going to help weigh it down so you can get more of the water out of the eggplant faster. After you get some color in those garlic cloves, you can remove them right from the pan, or you could have sliced them and leave them right in there if you so chose to do that. Either way is fine. And then about a can of tomato paste. Standard can of tomato paste is 6 ounces, so this will be about 3 ounces of tomato paste, and just kind of fry it in the olive oil. And get the plum tomatoes in. So that's a really simple marinara. This is the marinara that I did about 30 episodes ago, maybe 40 episodes ago. It's a recipe that I use as a base for many, many dishes, and this is going to be the base sauce that we use for our eggplant rollatini. Onto the stuffing for the eggplant rollatini. Add in about 1 pound of ricotta into a large bowl, about 1/4 cup of pecorino romano cheese. You could also use parmigiana if you want. About 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup of fresh parsley. You can use 1 to 2 eggs here. Like if it's a really large egg, 1's fine. This is going to act as a binder for the ricotta. It's going to help it not ooze out of the eggplant rollatini. So you get that in there. Mix it up real good. And I forgot the mozzarella that needs to go in there. So grate up about 1/2 pound of mozzarella too. And this is important for the stuffing. And now mix it up real good. And that's our ricotta stuffing. And now for the breading. I'm going to add about 1.5 cups of plain breadcrumbs. I want you to add about 1/4 cup of pecorino romano cheese. Yeah, more cheese the better, right? Maybe a couple tablespoons of dried parsley here. You could also add the fresh if you want. It doesn't really make a difference. A little bit of garlic powder, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. Probably about 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon each. You can mix this up. You can even taste it just to make sure it's seasoned okay. So now we got those eggplant pieces. They lost a lot of water, and they're wet though, so I need to dry them off. Well, you need to dry them off to remove some of that salt, and just to get them fairly dry, so they'll be able to receive the flour, the egg, and the breadcrumb coating. So I'm patting them dry more. That's what I want you to do. And there they are. I have about 12 or 14 pieces here. And that's a decent amount for this. So the final thing to get your station set up is to crack about 3 eggs into a bowl and then beat them well. This is a good thing to do for me to make the video, number one, but it's a really good thing for you to do too when you're preparing it. This pan right here with parchment paper, you don't even need a pan. You can take parchment paper. If you have a really big counter or, like an island like this, you lay it right on top of the island. And what you want to do is you're going to take 1 piece of eggplant, you put it in a little bit of flour, shake off that excess, put it in the egg, then in the breadcrumb, and both sides, and then take a fork and put it right on your parchment paper. Now, I like to have a really big thing for, a breadcrumb so it doesn't hit the sides or anything like that. To be more efficient in this process, it's good to have separate forks. So you have like your flour fork, and your flour is your first step. Then you have your egg fork. Shake off the flour, you shake off the egg, and then I tend to like to get like 2 or 3 of them in that large breadcrumb thing, and then I can just shake it, and then I can turn them over with my third fork. Lay them, so I shake it to get the coating underneath it again, and then I put them down, shake it one more time, right on the parchment paper here. This is the easiest way to prepare anything that's ready for frying, whether it's chicken cutlets or anything. When that's all set up, you're going to start frying the eggplant pieces. Use the end of your wooden spoon to check for tiny bubbles. The ideal frying temperature is 350 to 375. Pointing away, put the eggplant away from you when you put it into the oil. The more you do this, the more you fry, the better hang of it you'll get, where you'll be able to get a good golden fry without burning it. You'll know your stove, you'll know the exact level where to turn it, you'll know the height of the oil, you'll know everything. If you don't want to do that, use an oil thermometer, and then that'll tell you the temperature of the oil. And that's fine to use. But the more you get the hang of cooking, you'll get a nice golden fry just like that. And it only takes about 2 minutes per side, because it's very thin eggplant. And I'm kind of turning those over one more time to get a little bit more golden color on them. And maybe giving them like 30 more seconds. And then I have this wire rack set up, which is really nice because they drain well. If you put them right on paper towels, they tend to get a little bit soggy. I like to just let that any oil kind of go through the bottom here on the rack, and then I can pat them dry with paper towels on the top. So I'm just going to run through the batches. The trick is, after you finish this, after you're done with your last batch, let them cool. Once they cool enough, they're going to roll right up. This recipe is far easier to make if you own a pizzeria, someplace with a meat slicer. That's how they do it so quick. They cut up 10 or 15 eggplants really thin. When you're doing it yourself, it will be imperfect. Some of the pieces I cut are thicker than others, and that's fine. It's, it makes it home cooking. So here's all the pieces. What do we got there, like 12? This is a fairly decent amount of eggplant rollatini here. Because remember, you're adding like 2 pounds of cheese into this. So I patted them dry one more time. I recommend you do that with a paper towel. And then use that delicious ricotta mixture and layer it just maybe a couple tablespoons onto each one. You can kind of maybe go do a little bit more. It's okay, and it's okay if it oozes out a little bit. You just want to roll, and you want to keep the seam side down when you put it in the pan, which I'll show you in a sec. Before you put them in your pan, baking dish, or whatever you use, make sure you put a decent amount of sauce on the bottom, maybe a quarter inch of sauce. Seam side down, and just roll them all up. Any dish works fine. Any baking, oven safe dish works fine for this. You're gonna be surprised how good this is. It's not. It's a hard flavor to describe. It's just, I gotta say, I mean, it might be better than eggplant parm. It really might be. It's probably about the same amount of work, I would say. They both involve frying eggplant, and that's how they all look. I just couldn't fit one of them in there. And before you get them in the oven, make sure you put a nice layer of sauce on top. I kind of like to make a line almost. I think it looks good. It's almost like a cannoli, It's like a cannoli with ricotta coming out at the bottom. Ricotta and mozzarella. And then a lot of pecorino romano on top. 375 degrees for 30 minutes, and it's going to look like that. And as good as it looks, it's going to taste even better. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.